I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And I'm Pequod.
Pequod.
From Moby Dick?
Nope.
Yeah, actually.
Nope. Not from Moby Dick.
Not from Moby Dick.
The other Pequod.
Different Pequod.
The other Pequod.
Did you ever read Moby Dick, JT?
Huh?
Did you ever read Moby Dick?
Hell no.
Had some
Hell
serious...
would I read Moby Dick
It
for?
actually did?
So I think you would like it.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons is because through the reading of Moby Dick, you actually do learn how to use every piece of a whale.
You do,
I mean,
actually.
That does interest me.
How to harvest oil,
Yeah.
how to use the meat, how to use the blubber.
You are right.
It was insane because it was like, oh, there's so many uses for whales and whale pieces and whale parts. And now I know that if I had to, I could go out and,
kill a whale
and harvest it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so funny. I had to read Moby Dick over the course of a semester in college. And throughout the semester, we had to write articles on our opinions of like the storyline and whatnot. And I wrote a whole essay about the homosexual relationship between Ahab and what's his name?
Starbuck?
Starbuck, yeah. There's a very gay undertone to Moby Dick. It's full of like drama.
A lot of people don't
really
realize that's where Starbucks, the coffee company, got its name. Was the first officer of the Pequod was indeed Starbuck, who would be in charge of making the coffee for the crew.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. I don't know what's going on. So.
I mean, listen.
It's all good. Let's just jump into the Ghostmail.
Well, now
We could spend an entire episode talking about Moby Dick. Call me Ishmael. And so are beginning. Yeah.
Exactly.
There is a chapter in Moby Dick called The Crotch.
Yeah, there is.
Just want you to know that.
No, there is.
I think it's chapter 87, The Crotch. And so the crotch is actually the place where they put the harpoon.
Oh, that's cool.
Because it looks like a crotch.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you have it.
Because by definition, it is a crotch. Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Well, now that we've influenced everyone to go read Moby Dick for
It's
all of
actually
its
beautifully
drama.
written.
No, it really is, though. It's full of so many highs and lows of emotions.
All right, let's talk about ghosts. Stop endorsing Moby Dick.
I forgot what podcast we were on.
This was
This wasn't literary.
reviewing, dissecting, but no, everybody, we are going to do a ghost mail today.
Very nice.
And that was Chris
that was
you
me
got
saying
Ghostmail,
Wow.
and I just brought the octave down, or the pitch down.
Become
You've got Ghostmail.
well. There you go. Every day, JT comes up with
There's
a
some
new
tinkering going on in the studio.
Yes,
And
there's-
it takes us by surprise every time.
every single time. But other than that, y'all, actually, we're going to thank some new Parajunkies as well. So let me actually get my phone back. I knew I had it out here for a reason, but my brain did not remember. All right. So we want to thank Ellie Neeson, Miranda, Kayla B, and Makari. So thank y'all so much for becoming Parajunkies.
Welcome to the family.
Welcome. I'm sure by the next episode, we're going to have a sound effect for new Parajunkies as well.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, okay.
What is the sound of a person becoming a parajunkie? Just
Getting
a murder.
your
Just
soul
sounds like-
sucked out. Literally.
Well, yeah. I'll make something up.
Also,
I'll get something going.
is Mylia here in the chat?
I hope so.
Well, we started a new thing for when our Parajunkies have birthdays and make us aware of it.
On the live stream.
On the live stream, we would like to do a nice happy birthday to my Leah. You get the first one. And to give you said happy birthday, we're going to let the haunted objects take over from here. So happy birthday, my Leah. Here's a dose of nightmare fuel for you.
Yeah.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. So Parajunkies, let us know when it's your birthday, and Jingles will sing you a little tune. You never know.
Yep. If we're live streaming on your birthday, that'll happen.
Yes. And speaking of Patreon, that is the best way to support us in our endeavors. This year, we are taking on a project that we're calling Ghosts, which is essentially an RV. We're going to wrap that bad boy, and we're going to take it around the country to haunted locations and do live podcasts from said haunted locations.
Yes.
So if you want to see us do that and go to all the fun, spooky places that you've always been curious about, consider joining us over on the Parajunkie side of things. You get lots of exclusive content. You get live streams. You get group chats with all the other fun Parajunkies over there. We do raffles from time to time for the Ultra Parajunkies, and all sorts of cool things are happening over on Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
But if you want to do just a one-time donation because you feel like this is a cool project, but you don't want to become a Parajunkie, you can donate to us on Venmo, and it's going to be Ghosts, so Ghost with an S, tip jar. And that is going to be our Venmo. So,
I'll link it down below.
Yes, JT will link it down below if you feel so compelled to donate to us, and we are greatly appreciative.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into some Ghostmail.
All right, y'all.
Ghostmail.
I'm really excited to read this first one, honestly, because the subject of the email was too many legs.
Oh, I don't like it already.
Not too many legs.
There's too many legs.
I will go on the record. I don't like it.
Too many legs.
And I want to say, and this is from Gwen, I want to say, when I was copying the text into my folder here, I do want to say that Gwen is from Australia.
Ooh, cool. Another
So
Australian.
already, too many legs.
Yeah.
To the legs, not you, Gwen. But let's go ahead and get into
Dang,
the
our
story.
Australian fan base is strong, man.
Yeah.
That's great.
We
I
love
love
it.
that.
I want to go to Australia.
Oh, we definitely could.
I'm very scared of your animals, but I also grew up in Florida, so I think you think the same way about us.
We'll go bunyip hunting.
What is
hell?
that?
Yowie and bunyip.
What are those?
They're the like Sasquatchy like creatures.
Oh, okay.
Very fun. Yeah. Let's go cryptid hunting in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice. But anyways, back to the legs. So, hey there, fairly new listener and even newer Parajunkie. Oh, Gwen, thank you so much. If you're here in the live stream and I didn't see you, let us know. But here with two experiences from my childhood. I've had some other inexplicable happenings since then, but these stand out as being quite different ends of the spectrum. My family has a touch of the other. That's a way to describe that. That's funny. For example, my mom sees spirits on occasion and was offered to be taught by a witch doctor back when we were still in South Africa. She hates going to cemeteries because she's been caught out talking to someone who's not there before. I believe it's Opa, had an eerily good way with animals and often could tell you something about a person that he had no way of knowing. So spirits and the inexplicable were never really talked about, but there was a clear and unspoken acceptance that not even everything could be explained. When I was small, about 7 or 8, we rented an old farmhouse in the suburbs. There was an old lady ghost there, but she was pretty chill.
Oh, good.
That's good.
That's good.
Mostly checking up on who these new people in her house were and if we were taking care of the place. One night I was in my room dozing off when I saw some movement in the corner. Thinking it was the old lady, I wasn't too worried at first, but when I looked across, it wasn't her. The corner had gone from dusky in the faint light of the street lamp to thick black. It felt wrong. So wrong. Immediately, I was terrified and stayed absolutely quiet and still. After a few moments, there wasn't so much a sound, but a sensation of scuttling. Lots of legs.
Ugh.
Lots of chitinous legs. The thought still makes me want to gag. In that black patch, there emerged a giant centipede scuttling over itself and my wall in that half-dark gloom.
Nope.
Oh, no. How big is the centipede? Oh, God. And I mean, like, it makes sense if the centipede, if it was big enough, would make some loud noises because they've got, like, armored legs, right?
That would be a millipede.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, creepy crawlies. Do not need to be giant. Now I hated, and even more so now, centipedes, but this one was horrific. Long legs and a brownish black and a body about as wide as mine.
Nope.
What? What?
What is happening in Australia that you have giant centipedes the width of yourself?
Yeah, torso-sized bodies.
That's awful. That's that is a nightmare that I didn't know I had. That is a horrific sounding thing. The big yikes was the head, which I can't even imagine. It didn't have a normal centipede horror show face. Instead, it had a beautiful porcelain woman's face with pincers. Why does it have a lady face?
I don't know.
So
It's
you
the
know what's
lady
really
face centipede.
weird? There is this very scary. It's from a kid's cartoon.
Oh no! Oh,
But
yes.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's a creature, a demon called the Face Stealer, and it was a giant, like wormy monster, but it wore like this very neutral, beautiful woman's face, or like a porcelain face. Yeah, the moment you said that, I was like, because that was a very scary creature.
Yeah.
The Face Stealer, because
Yeah.
in that show, if you showed any emotion, it stole your face.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's only getting worse.
Yes,
So,
it's only getting worse.
it had pincers where the other would be, framed in lipstick and all. I can remember that they spoke, and it speaks. It speaks. I can't remember what they said, but my emotional memory is one that was threatening. It scared me so badly, as I would imagine. I felt like they wanted to eat me or take me away. I can remember thinking, no, you're not allowed to be here, go away, but struggling to get any sound out. My cat jumped on my bed, and suddenly I managed to squeak out something that broke whatever was holding me, terror probably. I sat up, but it was gone, vanished. Just my cat making biscuits on my blanket in my room as usual. I slept with both the light on and my foam sword next to me that night and for about a week after. Any idea what this could have been? Even thinking about that night gives me the heebie-jeebies still. I never saw it again, but I still have a deep-seated hatred for centipedes.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So I'd have to look into like any Aboriginal stories, but so throughout any mythology and folklore in any country, there are definitely creatures with women's faces. The Sphinx, the harpies, wherever you go in the world, there's going to be that phenomenon. And there's some argument as to whether or not what you're really dealing with is a shapeshifter in mid-shift or the ability to shift so it can wear multiple pieces at different times. So it's presenting with the female face and the centipede. I do not like bugs of any type.
Yeah, I don't either.
And the more legs you
like
put
some bugs.
on a bug, the more I'm going to be about it. I do not like centipedes, millipedes. I do not like. I don't even like roly-polies when they get when they fall over on their back and they're like,
no, rolling polies are good.
all their legs. I don't like them.
What?
I don't
Too many
like
legs.
bugs. It's a Jinhee thing. My sister taught me to be afraid of bugs at a very young age, and it stuck. So I am still very phobic of bugs. Oh,
I feel like
bugs.
the cat, though, maybe did something to scared away, or
also in multiple religions, multiple cultures, cats can see the through the veil and can defend the veil. That is why Egyptians worship them. That's why the Japanese have all these emphatic art about them. There's a belief that cats live in 2 dimensions at once, meaning they are in our dimension, but the dimension that sits over it, they are able to comprehend, see, and defend against. Some people argue that's why cats sleep so much, because while they're asleep, they're fighting a battle, to protect this realm.
Our cat Gilly, if she's defending our realm, she can be bribed with snacks. So
that's right.
It's true.
Always carry cat treats.
Yeah,
she might need to call upon a cat.
A demon could get me pretty quickly if Gilly's the one defending, but that's okay. But there's a second story as well in this. The second experience I'll share is much shorter and much nicer. Thank God. Yeah. For me, it's given me comfort to know that animals do leave ghosts and that the paranormal can be comforting too. We spent most of my childhood in that old house with our 2 Devon Rex cats who were half brother and half sister. They loved to snuggle up to and terrorize each other, think waiting for the other to be asleep and then farting in their face. Sweet. Sibling love.
That is how it be. That is how Oberon treats me every day.
Yes. He's like, I love you, Dad.
Here's my butt.
Yes. The little boy, Snow King, lived for around 12 years, I think. He ended up passing due to cancer in his lymphatic system, and for a week or so after we'd seen a flash of white out of the corner of our eye or a phantom yowl for food. His sister Bluebell, hey, I named them when I was 5, lived for several years more. She got to be about 15, and I was in the process of moving out of the house. The flashes of white came back. A second wait on the blanket in the middle of the night. I thought it might be because I was moving out and the house was changing, as Bluebell, normally a rather aloof cat, was super cuddly on my last night there. A week later, though, I dreamt of both of them, chasing each other underfoot through a house I didn't know in basking windows I had never seen before. That morning, I got the message from my mom that Bluebell had passed that night in her sleep, curled up in her favorite bed by the heater. I haven't seen or dreamt of either of them since. I think he just came to fetch his friend and they both said goodbye.
Aww.
That's
very
super sweet.
I've been binge listening to your podcast ever since I stumbled across it. Thank you very much, Gwen. The content you make has been an oddly comforting blend of humor, spoop, and fascinating discussions. Please keep it coming. Yours all the way from Australia, Gwen.
Yay.
Always.
I love that second story, though. You're right.
It's a very sweet story.
I would like to imagine that's how my cats are going to be when they pass, because they're also very bonded in that way. And it makes sense. People have experiences when they're about to pass that their loved one comes and gets them to bring them to the other side. So why can't cats do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But yes, I think that's really sweet. And probably you were feeling Bluebell come snuggle up with you one last time before crossing over.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. That's lovely. I'm glad that you had that experience after the centipede nightmare. That's just
Pincer face centipede woman.
it's
Centipede woman face monster.
it was almost giving Other Mother
Yes,
from
almost. Yeah.
Coraline.
Yeah.
Which
No,
is not a good sign either. But
don't like it.
I wonder if the old lady you're seeing, she appears as like the sweet little old lady that haunts the house during the day and then transforms into demon centipede.
Centipede woman at night sheds the skin. Sheds the skin.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I hope you never have that experience again, and I hope nobody ever has that experience again. But I would like to know if anybody listening has also experienced a giant centipede lady.
Well, look into the big book of Oogity Boogities.
Yeah.
See what's out there.
Yeah. So thank you, Gwen, for sending in those stories. Yeah, if you have any more, please feel free to send them to us. But our next one comes from Nyx, and this is just titled Ghostmail. So, Hello, my name is Nix, and I'm from the western suburbs of Chicago. I first want to say I've been listening to your show for the past few years, and it is above and beyond one of my favorites.
Aw,
that's very
thanks.
sweet. From Chris and Madison's wealth of knowledge, making them an intellectual powerhouse of the paranormal.
Oh, well, we're going to have to put that on the
I was
poster.
about to say, I'm
Thank
like writing
you.
that down.
Inflate our egos, why don't you? But to JT's humor and wit. There you
Damn
go,
straight.
JT.
Damn straight.
You get a compliment every once in a while.
Sweet.
I enjoy listening to every episode of my long commute to work.
Was that an example of humor or wit?
That was just his noise he makes when he feels good.
His feel good noise.
Feel good noise.
It also brings the pigs home.
Yeah, sorry. But I'm not sure really where to start, as I feel I've always had experiences with the paranormal since I was a child. However, it became more prevalent in my 20s. I'm now in my mid-40s. When I was dating my now husband, I remember waking up to a shadow person standing next to an apparition that looked exactly like him.
Ooh.
Mimic. Both were standing over his sleeping body and staring down. Oh, no. The apparition that looked like my husband never looked up, but I could hear the shadow person say, "She can see us."
Oh
no.
Lord.
This is horrifying. Y'all are sending in like super creepypasta level stuff today.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it out loud. It was like I could hear its thoughts. I could also sense that the shadow person seemed surprised. My husband was transparent with a gray tone about him. I couldn't make out any features of the shadow person except for the shape of a human. They both slowly disappeared into thin air. It left me in fear that it was a bad omen and something horrible was going to happen to my husband. That was until I found out what astral projection was a few years later when I experienced it myself. More of that later. This happened in one of our apartments, not arguments, hopefully not an argument. Imagine astral projecting out of your body in an argument. You're like, I'm done with this.
I have noped out of the conversation.
But
Done with this.
Cash me outside.
cash me in the plane. How about that?
Madison, stop astral projecting out of our arguments.
I'm going to try that next time. The odd thing was I didn't have any fear the time I witnessed this incident. I was sitting up on my elbows in bed just staring at them and went back to sleep after they disappeared. The fear didn't come until the next morning when I began overthinking it. I told my husband about it and he dismissed it as a dream. I know I wasn't dreaming, but I didn't want to argue. Fast forward to after we were married and moved into our first house. It was a small bungalow with a basement. The neighbors all said our house was haunted, but I dismissed it as I never felt anything scary there, and they never offered any evidence. They're like, "Hey,
Just walking by, haunted house.
you live in a haunted house," and
Driving
it's like,
by, haunted house.
You're like, "Can you give
Your
me?
house is haunted.
Can you give me any details?" No. But my mom was creeped out by the basement because basements are creepy.
Yeah.
Because there was old medical equipment on the walls left behind from the previous owners.
Lord.
Oh, well.
What's the movie? Haunting in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
Lord.
keeps medical equipment just on the wall? I mean,
Somebody who's doing
What the-
bad things, probably.
the Frankenstein estate. Where are you?
Experimental medicine.
Damn.
You never know.
I practice home lobotomy.
Oh, no. Not a home lobotomy. I'm sure somebody out there would do it, but still.
Yeah.
She didn't like how she felt there, but couldn't explain. I soon found out what they all meant after we got pregnant and had our twins.
Oh, no.
I don't like the sound of where this is
getting
going.
darker and scarier.
Yeah. Our 80-pound dog would growl as if he was looking down the basement and never wanted the babies to go near the stairs. Not sure if he was protecting them from the stairs or the basement itself, even with the baby gate there. Probably both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. One evening, my husband had one of the babies on his lap in the recliner, and I was on the couch with the other twin. We were watching TV when all of a sudden my dog jumped up and began growling at my husband and the baby. This was completely out of character for him. The hairs on his back stood up straight, and he backed himself onto my lap, forcing me to hold my daughter to the side of me. At first, I thought it was because my husband had his hood on his head, trying to take a nap, but then I realized he was staring at the wall above the chair with them in it. Whoa. It was almost like someone was standing over them and looking down.
Ooh.
Another time, I was videotaping the twins on the floor laughing as I was tickling them. When I looked back at the video, I could hear a voice say, "Aw," next to the camera.
Nah, dog.
I only showed the video to a few people because I was embarrassed of the baby talk I was spewing. And 2, the TV was on in the background and skeptics would easily dismiss it. I know what I heard, though, and no, it wasn't the TV. I have the video as validation for myself. The other incident that even my skeptical husband couldn't explain was when we were again sitting in the living room watching TV with the twins. The dog and 3 cats were in the other room. I was on the phone with my mother when the empty infant rocking chair in the middle of the room rocked all the way forward one time and back to its original position.
Oh, you haunted.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
JT's pulling his earrings off so they can go
It's
fight.
like, absolutely not. But none of the windows in the house were open and no animals were around. Even if the windows had been open, I want you to know, Nix, I don't think the wind would do that.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point of a rocking chair is that it rocks. So if it went forward and back into position without rocking,
yeah,
it's not rocking.
It's just tilting.
It's moving.
Yeah. And that's a scary thought. So
Yeah.
even if it was the wind or an animal knocking into it, the chair would have continued to rock back and forth until it slowly stopped. Exactly, because that's how rocking chairs work. This was just one rock forward and back to being motionless.
Huh.
That is announcing a presence right there.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
My husband immediately jumped up and began looking under furniture and around the room and couldn't explain it. All of the odd happenings in that house, I never once felt fear. It was almost like a protective spirit or spirits who enjoyed the presence of the babies. We soon decided to move out into a larger home as I became pregnant with our 3rd child. This new house we moved into was the peak of the paranormal experiences we had.
So it's following them.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't just move it from one haunted house to another. That'd be rare.
And keep in mind that in the first encounter, she saw a shadow figure with the likeness of her husband.
Sure.
Right.
Which suggests that regardless, some entity had enough connection to assume his look if it wasn't him himself.
Yeah.
Right. So at first the lights would flick on and off. The doors would swing open and close when my daughters were playing in their rooms together. They would come running out and tell me that someone was whispering their names from the hallway and moving the doors. Listen to your children and pets.
Yeah. Because
kids, as we always say, they tend to be more sensitive to things.
They haven't shut it all down yet.
And they don't, and especially I'm assuming your kids were pretty little at this point, and so they wouldn't really have much to gain from telling mom, hey, somebody's whispering our names from the hallway and moving the doors. Right. So one of the twins was sleeping in her junior loft bed at night when she told me that an orange man rolled into her room with no feet.
Rolled into the room.
With no feet.
No feet. Orange man.
Trying to say that he was roller skating without feet because she didn't know the word for floating.
Oh.
He came up to her bed and patted her head but had no mouth. She hid under the covers until the next morning when she told me this story. My husband again passed this off as a dream. I'm not convinced it was a dream. I'm not either. So my daughter was adamant it was real and she wasn't one to make up stories. Activity really took off when the Sandy Hook shootings took place, killing all those innocent children and teachers. I was devastated. My twins were getting ready to start kindergarten soon, and this set me into a state of fear for my kids' future. One night after this happened, my husband left for his overnight shift at work, and I sat on the kitchen floor sobbing hysterically, thinking of those poor children and their families. I'm not religious, and I wouldn't call it prayer, but I began asking for deceased relatives and ancestors to watch over my children and protect them. I asked for them to take me instead. I had so much emotion in this request that I feel it was heard. A few days later, I was in our kitchen talking to my mom, who was visiting, and I heard the volume on the TV go all the way up. I looked around the corner no more than 5 seconds later, and my 3 kids were playing on the floor. The remote was up high, and so the volume control of the speaker, and so was the volume control of the speaker. There's no way they could have reached it. I went back to talking with my mom, and the vacuum cleaner, which was in its charging port, went off by itself. It's never done that before. My mom got freaked out, and before she left, told me that my grandma had experiences with the paranormal too. One morning, one of the twins and my 3rd daughter woke up and began telling me that they dreamt the same thing. They were finishing each other's sentences when describing the dream. They were 4 and 5 years old and wouldn't make it up either. They described me sleeping in the living room on the couch when a bad mommy was chasing them around trying to hurt them.
Oh, boy.
We're working on a doppelganger story, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
They kept trying to wake me up, but I wouldn't move. That's when my other twin told me she sometimes sees a red light glowing out of my room at night when I'm sleeping. My husband works nights, so I'm alone in there, and I know for a fact we don't have any red light bulbs in the house. Another time, we all left the house and came home to all the dining room furniture pushed up against the front door, trying to prevent us from coming in.
What?
Yeah.
This is like Poltergeist. Like the movie.
Yeah, a lot like the movie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Our dog and cats were the only one in there, but they couldn't have done that. The furniture was moved all the way across the room and strategically pushed against the door in a manner that no animal could have done. The final incident that scared me was when I fell asleep on the couch in the living room in the dark and woke up to what felt like heavy static electricity buzzing in front of my face. I had my...
It's a motorcycle.
Okay. Sorry, we're on edge.
We're a little on edge here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And we're also in a very haunted building right now. There's like... hundreds of scary things.
After the sneak peek the other night, we came in here and did an EVP session, and there was something very weird going on in here.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I had my eyes closed out of fear and tried to ignore it. It would come close and then go away, and repeated this several times. After a while, I felt my body move several inches down the couch as if whatever it was levitated me. My eyes remained closed, and I used my elbows to inch my way back to the pillow. Once I felt the heaviness of the room leave, I opened my eyes to darkness. I could see the outline of my dog in his bed on the other side of the room sleeping in the small light from the DVD. I woke up again, and again my husband told me it was a dream, and again I knew it wasn't. The next night, my fear turned into rage. I became mad that it actually touched one of us and has scared my children. I went into mama bear mode, and once my husband left for work and the kids were sleeping, I began speaking out loud to whatever it was. I threatened to hunt it down if it went near any of us again or scared my kids. As you should. I was beyond mad at that point. After that, nothing much happened until my 4th daughter was born, and we decided to move across town to be near my mother. As I was alone in the house getting it ready to sell, the ejector pump began shooting out water all over our newly installed floor. I called out a plumber, and he couldn't explain why it did that, as there was nothing wrong with it. My husband remained skeptical, saying there is a logical reason for everything. Insert eye roll. Was it the house messing with us, or was it a logical explanation? We moved into our 3rd and current house, all 6 of us, and have only had a few experiences, all focused on me. This is where astral projection comes into the story. I began having several very realistic dreams of being in our last house and floating around inside and outside of it. It was so real, I could even feel the breeze of the night against my face. I remember being so scared to be there because it was the new owner's house now, and the cops were going to get called on me. I would wake up feeling like I had actually been there. The last time this happened, I was floating through the dining room, and at the same time, 2 people walked through the front door. I couldn't make out their features, and other than the woman in front of me had shoulder-length hair, and the man behind her was shorter and balding, like the man who bought the house from us. The woman stood looking at me and didn't move. That's when I woke up. After more research, I discovered I may have experienced astral projection because of all of my focus for so long was on fixing that house up to sell it in a hurry.
Okay.
Sure.
That apparently is one of the methods to induce an astral projection experience is by focusing on a place before you fall asleep. I've always wanted to go back to that house and ask them if they experienced anything paranormal, but for obvious reasons, I have not. Now, I have random astral projection experiences that I can't control, but it's usually no further than my room I fell asleep in. I've woken up to a man standing next to my bed whom I felt like I've known a lifetime and wasn't scared. He had an oversized hand reaching out for me, and it was cold as ice. I've seen shadow figures in my room. I've had an incubus experience in my room with something that looks like Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, it sounds like an incubus, but I felt drained after.
I thought incubuses were supposed to be hot.
Well, they can be, but
They inspire.
Damn,
Yeah.
So you get an
They don't-
incubus.
They don't have to look like anything. Their presence, no matter what they look like,
Yeah.
Sure.
inspires. I am hearing a man speaking.
A man speaking.
Yes. Like literally right
let
there.
me get my headphones on. Hold on.
Shirley's been giving me off vibes all day, so maybe it's Shirley. Hello.
It's very odd.
Man speaking.
It's almost like on the other side of this wall, like
Oh.
outside.
Oh. I mean, it could. Well, I have the cameras on, but I would have got an alert.
Yeah, you would have
Yeah.
gotten an alert.
Well,
Hey, we'll continue on.
So listening to this podcast, listen
Yeah.
for anything weird that's not our voices talking. That will
Right.
be interesting.
It sounded like it was a very low, rumbly voice, speaking very casually. They're not like aggressive or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
It was weird.
Okay. Well,
Moving right along.
moving right along with Gollum.
Sex Gollum.
Yes, sex Gollum.
Not sex column.
Sex Gollum.
Oh,
Sex
God.
Gollum.
You're going to inspire Elle for a new shirt.
Yeah, no, seriously,
Yeah.
though.
My precious.
I felt drained after that experience, which you typically do
Yeah,
after an incubus
absolutely.
experience. And instead of being horrified and disturbed, I fell back asleep. I've woken up to my husband's dresser drawer open all the way, and all the clothes inside were completely wet. He was at work, and I know I didn't do it because it would have had to be closed in order to get in bed in the first place. I checked for leaks in the wall or ceiling and nothing. My kids nor myself have ever slept walked. I smelled it and it didn't have any smell. I originally thought maybe the cat urinated in there, but no animal could have urinated that much to completely drench all those folded clothes. That remains an odd mystery I can't explain. I've only heard of this happening to one other person. I can't remember which podcast I heard it on. My kids are now teenagers, and we haven't experienced anything like we did in our second house, but these occasional bouts of paranormal incidents are directed only towards me now. I've had 2 cancer scares and a short struggle with alcohol addiction, but I now proudly clean from that. Congratulations. I am now struggling with anxiety and depression, which happened after we moved out of that last house. In all honesty, I am scared to try protecting myself from any paranormal entities because of when I offered myself in place of my children's protection. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd still rather it be me than them, but at the same time, I want to be around with them. I am also on an anti-anxiety medication and have had no further incidents since being on meds. I've heard that will often block experiences. I continue to be fascinated with all things paranormal and on occasion miss some of the experiences, such as the ones from our first house where the spirits were friendly and protective. I would love to hear any advice and your perspective on this. Will my medication block me from having any more experiences? Do we as humans create things ourselves to be explained by quantum physics? Did I sell my soul for my kids' protection, and is there any hope for me? Again, I'd rather it be me than them, but I do love my life with my kids and husband. If there is hope, what do you suggest I do? I haven't had luck with psychics. I've seen too many scam artists. I also reached out to an occult store owned by 2 male witches / warlocks and was ghosted by them on Instagram, no pun intended. Thank you for being a platform for people to tell their stories and for offering your knowledge. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, Nix.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack.
If I get an incubus, I really hope it's not Gollum.
Yeah.
I really hope she don't look like Gollum.
I mean,
Well, you know.
I don't think you really get say in
I
what
guess.
incubus you're allotted, but it's but yeah, Nix, I do think that your situation where you basically demanded that your children completely be left out of things really did put a target on you.
Oh, absolutely. It's a big door opening. You opened a door, and that door allowed focus. It's the classic entities generally can't harm you unless you invite them in kind of situation. You know, especially with this brand of spirit. There are a couple of things. The shadow figure with your husband may have been a doppelganger that had yet to achieve its form as you. I think that it's possible that your husband had a doppelganger spirit, and the shadow figure that you saw was going to take over your visage.
I was thinking the same thing.
And especially where your children had the experience of the bad mommy again, Coraline
yeah, weird.
idea. But it's possible that these are entities that are somehow integral to your relationship in a way, probably familiarize themselves with you so much. But there is one thing that keeps popping back into my head, and that is the orange man with no feet. The orange man with no feet sounds so very familiar to me. There's something that is just very...
And no mouth.
Okay.
And no mouth.
Yeah.
Because it falls into a red cap scenario or it's definitely a Fae storyline, a Fae belief, especially coming after children. Rumpelstiltskin kind of notion. There's something in that. I will look it up because I almost feel like I know what book to look into for this, but there's something to that because I honestly think that from like a pull of folklore and a pull of storytelling, the fact that he had twins.
Yeah, that's very attracted to the Fae.
Very significant, very, considered to be of miraculous sort of thing. And especially because, and a lot of people don't talk about this, there's a notion that when twins are born, they have less protections against supernatural entities because their protections are split into two. So they have like only half the protection that anybody else has. So the idea that a predatory or parasitic entity might latch onto a twin is kind of high. And so there's a lot of like prominence to it, a belief that there's certain forms of luck to having a twin child and things of that nature. So there's a lot going on. And I think that you may have been astral projecting a lot anyway, like before your episode. I think even seeing
the husband
and the shadow may have been an astral projection rather than you woke up and went up onto your elbows. It's possible that only your spirit did that.
Well, I was just going to ask,
yes.
Do you think that the man wasn't actually orange? What he was doing was radiating energy, like radiating light, and like kind of how, like when you pull you have a strong flashlight and you shine it through your hand. You can,
sure.
Or like a bat wing, or something
possibly.
like that. Could it be something like that where he's not actually orange; he's just radiating light?
It's totally possible.
That's very possible. Yeah. I think part of it is the floating with no feet. There's like, it's right on the tip of my tongue, this notion of an entity, because I almost see like a roundish figure whose legs are not just they're just like sticking out of the body. The arms are just sticking out of the body. He's orange. And he kind of, I guess, looks like a gnome, maybe.
Sure.
That's the image that just keeps flashing in my head.
Yeah.
But as far as to answer the question, sometimes you can't see the entity itself, but you can see its energy. And so it's possible that the energy radiating from inside of it, you're getting what's reflecting, from the surface. So making that orange look. However, there is something just woefully familiar of this.
Yeah, and I mean, like, on a categorized ghost, I guess. The only other thing I could think of is, sometimes kids, and you've even documented some of the occurrences where kids don't have the vocabulary to describe what they saw. And so part of me pictured, and again, this is probably because I grew up in Florida, is just like people who do way too much like self-tanner, like tanning beds and stuff, they look orange sometimes. And so I'm like, maybe there is somebody who lived in that house who just baked themselves in the sun.
Oh, sure.
And they kind of looked orange, and the kid just is like, they're orange, know? And that's the only thing outside of just like non-human entity I could think of.
Could have been a spirit whose legs were chopped off to fit in a coffin.
We did talk about that a little earlier.
But,
although there's also the no mouth thing.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
Because that also suggests that it's possible that this was like some kind of suit or costume, or he wearing a helmet of some type, or a, ski mask of some type, or, things of that nature. So there's a lot to think about. Very intriguing and interesting stories.
Honestly, all of them are super fascinating. And just to answer a couple more of your questions, so with the medication blocking experiences,
absolutely.
I mean, it definitely can happen. Yeah. I will say it's not going to inhibit you entirely from having experiences.
There's a lot of conversation about the idea of whether your brain chemistry allows for your ability to see or not see. Like, there are people who believe that there are drugs and medications that kind of loosen your brain chemistry and cause people to have experiences. And there are equally ones that diminish your capacity because it's basically creating a limitation on how your brain waves are moving. Because that, at essential, you're changing brain chemistry, and it's possible that it requires a certain brain chemistry to acknowledge and see these things. However, if they are happening and you can't see them, it doesn't mean they're not happening. So it's possible that you're diminishing your sensitivity a little. However, we discussed this many times, spirits generally start to stop bothering you when they can't get the energy they need from you. And that's usually attention. That's usually you paying attention to them or being able to see them. That's an interaction. And so it's possible that it's actually very helpful to not have these encounters because the spirits are basically starving for attention, and they may move on.
Yeah. And I guess I'll just leave this with to end that out and wrap up our episode. Don't stop taking your meds just because you want to see a ghost. That's all. That's all I got to say.
None of that. Yeah. And there is no science to it. There is nothing to that. These are all just ideas that people have come up with that are like, I think this might be a thing. I think this might be a thing. But yeah, never go off meds for
a ghost.
Yeah, for a ghost.
But
not even a sex golem.
Not even for sexy golem.
Get all meds for that one.
But thank you all so much for sending in your stories. Honestly, really fascinating.
Really intense.
Very intense ghost mail.
Ghost mails.
But yes, if y'all have a story you would like us to read on the show, you can send it to us at ghostmail@hauntedcitypodcast.com. Do make sure you send them to the email, because if you send it to us on Instagram, TikTok, what have you, very likely we're not going to see it because it gets buried. So send it to Ghostmail, and we love reading your stories. But other than that, y'all, I think we are good for today. So thank you again for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day whenever you're listening to this. And my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all.